Alright, so let's go with the official greeting then for YouTube as well. Welcome to Heroes Chop Shop episode number 2. With me, just as the last time, the wonderful Wolle from Take TV and Tetcher. So welcome back, guys, and I hope you're doing well.
Yeah, doing well. Other than everything exploding, it's been going pretty good.
Yeah, you could think that Tetcher is suffering from a little bit of an issue there, but as we mentioned earlier, his webcam doesn't seem to work with Skype. I totally blame Skype, by the way, because whenever there's a technical issue, it's always Skype's fault, right? So
Almost definitely.
Almost. So it's been a while since we had episode 1 going on, and I have to say that I thoroughly enjoyed talking about new potential hero concepts with you guys. So I'm really happy that you found more time to actually do episode 2. For all of you guys who don't really know what the Heroes Chop Shop is all about, it's basically a show where I and the guests talk about potential future hero designs. So we all come up with our ideas about abilities and heroic abilities and just hero fluff and visuals in general, and then we talk about it and let you guys know how you like it by creating a poll at the very end of the show. And talking about polls here, I actually prepared poll. Well, it's actually the wrong one. Hold on, let me just get to it. And guess who won?
Guess who?
It was actually Tetcher by a considerable margin here. His Oriole concept seemed to have sparked the most liking. So definitely congratulations here, Mr. Tetcher, for creating a little bit of a wonderful hero. And Stukov wasn't actually too bad either. I mean, he got 35% of the votes. And apparently I need to work on my designing skills because the host of the show actually got slammed here, only 13%. But I'm pretty sure that with today's heroes, I'm actually not going to do as terribly, as at least I hope so, right? So
I still have every intention of crushing you and making it into 3 wins and 1 second place.
Man, you know what? I saw the concepts before the show started, and I have to say, Tetcher, chances of you rocking today's vote are actually fairly high because... have you seen it, Wolle?
Yeah, I have seen the stuff you talked about in the Skype group, and it does look indeed pretty impressive. I think Tetcher should think about working for Blizzard in that regard.
I'm gonna be honest, every single time we do this show, I usually poke one of the many Blizzard community people that we have, and I'm like, why have you not hired me yet? Are you seeing this shit?
No, it was pretty good, and we have something really, really cool for you guys coming in a bit, especially, of course, when we talk about Tetcher's hero, who most of you probably know by now because he has become a very popular figure in the Warcraft universe, but not because of Heroes of the Storm or Warcraft in particular, because of a little bit of a twist to Tetcher's character, which we are going to talk about later. But yeah, I think without further ado, let's actually get into the action and take a look at Tetcher's new hero. You can actually see the name already on the screen, and it is Bum Bum Bum.
It is Yogg-Saron, otherwise known as, and I have a list here, the Lucid Dream, the Beast with 1,000 Maws, the Fiend with 1,000 Faces, the God of Death, that which must not be named, but we did anyway, and Hope's End. So,
beautiful. Yeah,
a lot of names for him there, but Yogg-Saron, he is one of the many old gods that invaded Azeroth and basically wrecked the place. And wrecked the Elemental Lords, forcing the Titans to fight them. Turns out fighting them and killing them is a really bad idea. So Yogg-Saron was trapped underneath Ulduar, I think I'm pronouncing that right, and was left there for all adventurers, mainly Bram Bronzebeard, to run into and have issues with.
I am very excited about this because let's be honest, Yogg-Saron is probably Hearthstone's most favorite and most praised card these days.
He's the new RNGesus. He's the new Ragnarok.
Yes, he is. And I'm sure if anyone has ever seen one of these Hearthstone highlight videos by Trollden or anyone else, then you know what we're talking about because things can get crazy when this card enters the board. And I'm pretty sure that Tetcher has something equally crazy prepared for you guys when he enters the Nexus. So I think you can actually talk about his trait first, Tetcher.
I can. So starting off, the trait is the Curse of Flesh, where basically Yogg-Saron replaces your core. And basically, so he becomes your core. He's not someone who actively walks out onto the map. and every wizard minion in your lane is replaced with a faceless one, which is basically a servant of Yogg-Saron. And Yogg-Saron can only cast his abilities outside of one within an area created by a faceless one, or in the area around one of his allies. So he basically is assistance, basically, where he can only drop onto minions in lane or onto the allies wherever they are in a team fight.
Awesome. So that is insanely cool, because you have never heard of anything like, you know, a hero being able to replace the core or becoming the core. This is insanely cool. So I imagine Yogg-Saron to be a little bit like Abathur, in which he has global presence, but by the same token, he doesn't have a body, right? He becomes the core.
Yeah, like this is something, like I looked up just other things for like old gods and for the overmind in StarCraft, and the biggest theme seems to be they're too big. You can't fit them on the map, and a lot of people did come up with this idea as well of just replace the core and do it that way, and I love that idea. I think it is very, very good.
That is insanely cool. So some people might have a question concerning XP, because there's basically one hero that you can never kill. So would you say that it might be a little bit unfair in terms of kill potential and XP gain, or do you say that...
He adds his potential to the map in different ways, as opposed to being a body to soak XP, in the similar way that Cho'Gall is technically 2 heroes, but you have 1 less on the map to soak XP. So the global presence and the global assistance provided by Yogg-Saron, and the amount of damage, the amount of ability, the style of his abilities, I would say, makes up for the fact that he technically cannot gather XP.
So pretty much like Abathur has to do it right now with body soaking, symbiote soaking, right? So he has to use...
He doesn't have a symbiote, that's the thing. He doesn't have any way to soak XP at all, but there may be something that could be upgraded as one of the talents, for example, where...
Maybe the faceless ones can actually...
10% of XP.
I just wanted to say
every lane
that
would be difficult.
If the faceless wizard minion kills another minion, that could be a way for him to soak XP. On the other hand, if the enemy kills that faceless minion, he gets more XP, like a small number, like
possibly
2% more XP or something like that.
Yeah, so let's say when the faceless one is close to a minion dying, he gets a little bit of XP. By the same token, when the enemy team kills the faceless one, they also get a little bit more XP than from a normal minion.
Possibly, but I can see that being potentially abusable, because you're basically giving Viking potential soak, even though it's a bit less, to a hero that's still able to be helping his team at the same time.
Right.
So that's why I wanted to lean away from the whole XP gathering potential at all. Like, maybe his Q could gather XP. It could be similar to that way, but I hadn't really thought too far ahead. I just wanted to make it so the body itself and the faceless ones don't, because they are in every lane.
Okay, so before we move on to the Q, Tetcher, can you maybe describe to us what a Yogg-Saron core would look like? So does he actually sit on the core, or does he replace the core with his entire body?
He replaced the core completely. If you've ever done the raid of Ulandar, then you know pretty much exactly what it's like. It is a pool, which Yogg-Saron sits in. Basically, he embeds himself into the ground, creates a pool around himself, and then the lightning from the core would be replaced by some good old tentacle whipping, which he can use to which is how he would clear the minions, etc.
I mean, it can't really get much cooler than that, than having a Yogg-Saron core slapping people with gigantic tentacles. Talking about tentacles, Tetcher, tell us about the Q.
Yeah, I will just say, that brings a whole new meaning to slap the core, which is usually an Abathur thing, but in this case, it's the core slaps.
Alright, go ahead.
Okay, so the Q talent is tentacles, because it's an old god, it makes sense. Basically, this allows you to summon 3 tentacles around a targeted faceless one or allied hero that last for 10 seconds and lash out at the nearest enemy, prioritizing heroes and dealing damage.
Cool.
There is technically no maximum amount of tentacles that can be on the board at a time, and that will be important later on.
Okay, so let us know how much HP do these tentacles have?
Not a huge amount, a bit less than a Gaslight turret. But they do, and they're a bit shorter range, but cooldown is obviously not as high.
In terms of damage, would you also compare them to Gaslight turrets?
I'd put them in that area, yeah.
Okay.
But probably a bit less, because there's 3 of them.
Right. So maybe 3 tentacles would deal as much damage as one Gaslight turret, or a little bit more. Yeah, 1.5.
Cooldown. Like we try to avoid numbers on this show. We just try to get the general concept going.
Right. So roughly, you can compare them to Gazelle turrets, and 3 tentacles are probably a little bit stronger than 1 Gazelle turret. So just to give you guys a little bit of a comparison to other heroes that are already in the game, right?
Yeah, and it only took 2 abilities for the chat to go into hentai jokes. So wonderful.
Just out of curiosity, would it be possible for Abathar to head a faceless minion?
Yeah, it's a minion. It is just a minion, just with a different style, and allows Yogg-Saron to cast near it.
Oh, this opens a lot of doors.
Yeah, you could technically just have a faceless minion with an Abathar hat and Yogg-Saron pushing a lane with tentacles and Abathar.
So, did I get this right? The tentacles are moving with the faceless one, or
no, the tentacles are static.
Okay, they're static
items.
Okay.
They are placed on the ground. They can be killed. They have some health, and they just have a timed life that goes down, etc.
And I can really see the tentacles being the solution in terms of XP soak and stuff, because you can say, like, tentacles, when they are close to enemy minions dying, then they will soak up XP.
Yeah. That's a good way of looking at it, yeah. It's
pretty good.
Give some XP soak. We'd have to raise the cooldown, but in that way we can increase the damage to make it more
and just imagine the possibilities for potential skins here. You know, the tennis player Yogg with...
They were holding tennis rackets.
I mean, we have a basketball playing Asmodee, so the potential is sheer endless. I'm loving the tentacle theme here.
Yeah, it's very Yogg, and it gets even more Yogg as we go further on. But the tentacles are like his staple damage ability when it comes to pushing lanes, when it comes to controlling areas. Because the whole point is he's a map control hero.
Awesome. Let's talk about his W then.
Okay, so his W is Empowering Shadows. This is quite a simple one, but it basically increases the health regen of all friendly units around the allied hero or faceless ones. That includes minions, summons, heroes. But any tentacles affected by Empowering Shadows have their duration reset to the maximum 10 seconds again, and their attack speed temporarily increased.
That is incredible. That is quite cool.
Which is why I mentioned there is no limit on maximum tentacles. So in theory, if you are fighting in one area for a really long time, there could be an unlimited amount of tentacles in this area. If you...
So the thing is, though, I mean, before people get crazy ideas, it won't really be, like, super OP, because you can always expect where tentacles are, which is mainly, of course, in lanes, right? Because wizard minions are only there.
Cast it on the minions, or in a team fight where the tentacles don't have a huge amount of health, an AoE ability will just clear most of that up, kind of thing.
So it could either be around an allied hero or a faceless one. So it's not like you have to be scared of getting ambushed in a bush by 10,000 tentacles at the same time, right?
Yeah, and I'm not too sure about whether you can pass through them. I assume they're like Gazelle turrets where you can just walk over them. Because they're quite, I assume you could get around them. You can't block off an entire bush with just tentacles for days.
Yeah, I agree. That's also important to keep track of that. Body blocking should not be a thing with the tentacles.
Yeah, that could get a bit mental. It's a support style ability basically where you can drop it on like your midline, your tank or your melee assassin or your ranged damage dealer, where basically just drops a bit of AoE health regen. Very good for the heroes with high health regen already and very high health pools.
Cool. All right. I'm getting scared of Yogg-Saron already. I don't know about you, Wolle. How do you feel about it so far?
It feels like there's this force on the battlefield that you cannot stop.
So exactly like an old god. You can't. That's the thing. You're never going to be able to kill Yogg-Saron. You can only really mitigate him by killing off his faceless ones, which means you can target the globe minions quite effectively, or the heroes.
Tetcher for adding a hero that cannot be killed because he's an old god.
That's the idea. Well, it can be killed if you win the game.
Okay,
it's normally very easy to do, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, awesome. Let's move on to the E. I can't wait to see what you have in store for us with the E.
Okay, so the E is Deafening Roar, which deals damage in an area around the targeted hero or faces. Well, not a huge AoE, like very small, like a less than Echo Pedal if you want to use ability as an example, and it silences enemies' hit.
Cool. For how long? Is it like a brief silence, or is it like
less than a second?
Okay.
Like between 0.75 of a second and 1 second, I'd say.
So just a mini silence, right?
Freaking amazing ability to drop on top of a melee assassin.
Yes.
Like, Illidan dives into the backline. Oh, silence.
And, he also gets damaged. It's so cool.
This is getting so overpowered, but I like
It's
it.
very high, once again, very high cooldown, very small radius, but as an engage ability, it's very, very useful.
It's his E ability you're talking about.
It's a small silence. I would like to point out, Illidan used to have a silence on his Q with a much shorter cooldown than much longer duration. That was the thing that was in this game.
Yeah, I wonder why he doesn't have it anymore.
Yeah, he had, like, for those who don't remember, Illidan used to be so broken. He used to have
He used to be?
a root. It was worse. He had a silence, a root. It was mental.
Okay, so maybe we can at least agree on the fact that Deafening Roar probably has a 20-second cooldown-ish, maybe a 10-second, something between 10 and 20 seconds.
Yes, exactly. It is it's a team fight thing. You're not going to be using it to clear lanes, for example. It's at the start of a team fight and maybe at the end of it, usually.
Seems good. I think we can agree that Yogg-Saron seems pretty good so far. Now, where things get or might get a little bit out of control are, of course, the heroic abilities. So take us through the first one.
Okay, so this I got quite creative with, because the whole point of he's an old god. It's quite hard to design a heroic for someone who actually doesn't have a presence. It's actually very hard to do. So the first heroic I went with is Dark Reflections. This is not a target, an ally, or a faceless one. This is a global ability.
Global, okay, all right.
But the core, you can't exactly have it as a ranged ability. So basically, you create a copy of all heroes in the selected area.
Also the enemy ones.
Enemies, friendlies, all heroes. These copies have 50% of the life and damage of the originals and will attack all heroes indiscriminately, friend or foe. Just pure chaos.
That is amazing.
Okay, they will also take friends.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ah, nice.
So you have to be very careful where you put it down, because if you put it down and it catches more of your team, then it's going to do it. These things will use abilities, but will not cast heroics.
I was going to say, just imagine an enemy or an allied ETC copy diving into your own team and watching you.
Exactly.
Okay, good. No heroics, though. No heroics.
Yeah,
but still,
no
a power
heroics.
slide would
Standard
still pretty
abilities.
disastrous if
Yeah, and it stuns everyone, the entire team. So a lot of potential here.
That is amazing.
That would be pretty strong when your team is dead. You just got wiped.
It would
then,
if the enemy's low and you can drop that. You still have the vision. Like, you need vision to cast this, obviously. But if you can drop it on the enemy that are super low and suddenly they still do 50% damage, but if their health's low enough.
Just imagining a copy of Kel'Thas killing the own team.
But then again, would the copies also attack each other?
No, I think they basically be like a third team. Also, someone mentioned a very good one here. Yogg-Saron, Friendship's End. That is very good.
I mean, just imagine the pure joy when, you're the only survivor in your team of a team fight, except for Yogg-Saron, of course.
Especially
and
if
then
you can only copy one person. Sheer satisfaction.
And then the enemies, maybe the enemies survived with 3 to 4 heroes, and they're chasing that one target, and all of a sudden, they're all quite low because of the previous team fight. And then all of a sudden, Yogg-Saron casts the copies, and they're getting annihilated by the copies.
Yes, but then again, there's also a chance of those copies turning around and killing the hero that is retreating.
The last remaining one.
Yeah, you have to be very careful. These have a timed life. They last for 20 seconds, and like I said, they'll only cast basic abilities. Roughly 20 seconds, yeah.
You could also always cast a copy of Abathar, where he is, and just annoy Abathar.
Man.
Just slap fight, just annoy him, make him think he's under attack, but it's just another Abathar slapping him. Yeah, this is the chaotic heroic ability. If you cast it well, it's going to be very impactful. If you don't cast it well, you could put yourself and your team in some serious trouble.
Fantastic. I am absolutely loving it.
Yeah, I want to play him now.
I think you've done it, Tetcher. Basically, with this hero design, if anyone at Blizzard is watching, you are going to be hired as a hero designer.
I will be honest. This hero needs some balancing. There's going to be some
maybe.
I can see it being balanced with numbers. That's the thing. This is why we're avoiding numbers in general. But overall, I still like the idea of just having a global presence who can cause chaos, because that's Yogg. The amount of times you two both play Hearthstone. How many times have you been screwed over by the Yogg that you played?
I mean, so many times, and let's be honest, if you went like 3 to 4 to 5 months back in time and asked anyone over in the Hearthstone scene, hey, I've got this crazy card idea, you know, casting random spells to random targets. I mean, nobody would have said anything like, hey, that's a good idea. Hey, that's cool. Let's actually put it in the game. So I think those crazy shenanigan heroes can actually make it into Heroes of the Storm at some point, because I mean, it's just so much fun. And there's still an option saying like, okay, maybe in the competitive tournaments or leagues, Yogg-Saron is forbidden or banned away globally. But I mean, for just pure entertainment value, a hero like that would be insanely cool.
Yeah, and speaking of entertainment value, we do have we do have the second heroic.
Oh, absolutely. Take it away.
Copy the battlefield or something like this.
But every map, the map becomes Haunted Mines. Alright, so the second heroic is Lucid hang on, I struggle to pronounce this. Simulacrum. Simulacrum, that's it.
Simulacrum, I think that's okay, yeah.
Yeah, Lucid Simulacrum. Basically, this one's a bit hard to describe, but I will attempt to do it best I can. You select a hero. This could be a friendly or an enemy hero. As long as you have vision, just select them. Then that's your heroic. Your R will become a copy for one cast of the next ability that hero casts, and that could be basic ability, heroic, the next ability they cast for one charge. You can't use it for 20 seconds. This is to stop ult abuse. Say your thrall uses Sunder, you get a copy of Sunder, you instantly cast Sunder again. So there is a time limit on using it.
So I think this might be sounding a little bit confusing, because when I first read the description of this ability, I was also like, hey, what? How is this actually going to work?
Yeah.
So let's actually go through a very concrete example here. So you use Lucid Simulacrum on a thrall. This thrall then casts Sundering within the next 20 seconds, and then Yogg-Saron gets a charge of Sundering, which he
can't use for 20 seconds.
Yes, okay, 20 seconds then. And then he decides on which hero he jumps on, or a faceless one, and then he uses...
I want to describe this one a bit, because some heroics have to have a hero to be cast from.
Yeah.
You have to then select a faceless one or an ally to cast this new ability that you've copied from.
Okay.
So, for example, if you do get copy Sundering off of Thrall, you can then apply yourself to your Thrall once the timer is up and cast Sundering from that Thrall. This can lead to some interesting interactions, as we were describing in the a little bit earlier.
That's amazing.
For example, if you have an ability that technically affects the hero that you're casting it from, like say for example if you copy Guitar Solo, that's not too bad, but you select your Illidan, for example, you get the copy of Guitar Solo from ETC, you select Illidan, cast Guitar Solo on him, Illidan gets the healing from it. If you were to copy something like Stage Dive, Yogg-Saron gets to aim it, and it will affect the hero he casts it from. So he could Stage Dive his Illidan into the back line.
He could also, if Stitches gorges someone, he could Stage Dive him away.
He could Stage Dive him into the core. You could Medivac Stitches, turn him into the Medivac and fly him away. But that's only if you get the copy you want. You either have to communicate with your team to get the ability you want, or you have to get really lucky copying the enemy, like cast on ETC just before he uses Mosh, or something like that.
Just imagine, like, it could either be a total game changer, as you mentioned, using a heroic ability and then casting it on a different target, or it could be, like, the most wasted ability ever.
It could be ABBA for mine, because you only get one
exactly, right? So... here, on the other hand, I think this is basically crazy, but also in a very competitive way, right? Just imagine the amount of communication in a team you have to have, and then saying, okay, I'm using my Lucid Simulacrum on a Thrall, but don't use the Chain Lightning. Don't use the Chain Lightning. Save it for the Sundering or something like that.
Just wait. Like, it basically marks them. You don't have to stay attached to them or anything. You can head off onto the battlefield and do that stuff. It will just activate when that hero uses an ability. So you can wait for the entire game if you wanted to.
Cool.
But like once you've used the ability once, your R goes onto cooldown, and you can cast it again to get a new ability. Once the cooldown is over. You're not stuck with that one ability for the rest of the game.
That is amazing.
This is truly awesome.
This took me an hour. Like, Kevin invited me on the show, and I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna have time. And then I thought of that ability in particular, and then I was like,
I was gonna say when I first asked Tetcher if he could do a hero concept until Friday. I think it was Monday or Tuesday when I asked him. He was like, yeah, I'll try my best, you know. And then just a couple of hours later, I think the next day it was even.
No, it was an hour later.
It was an hour later. I mean, he came up with the most badass hero concept I've ever seen on this show. I mean, namely Yogg-Saron, the RNG monster himself. So, definitely cool stuff coming out, and I feel very terrible right now if I compare this amount of creativity with the hero concept that I came up with for today. But let's see, maybe we can. Or I'm not sure about you, Wolle, but maybe we can sell our hero concepts a little bit more or a little bit better, because it's going to be very hard to compete against Yogg-Saron.
Actually, when I see Tetcher's concept, I want to play his hero, not mine. This is not a good sign.
Well, I'm interested to see what we have, because yours, Wolle, is actually pretty interesting to me, considering that I've been on this show before, and I know it's interesting to Kendrick as well. We're both very curious about yours.
We're gonna talk about Wolle's hero next, actually, and without further ado, I think we can move on to the second scene. I think the cams and names are just fine this time, so no more adjusting needed here. So Wolle, we can see the title and the picture already, so why don't you talk us through your hero and tell us a little bit about the hero itself and why you chose it.
The last time I was on the show, I was asked about Diablo, if I have ever played it, and I said yes. And druid is by far my most favorite role, and I was like, okay, I actually want to do the druid, because I think he would make a great addition to the already existing Diablo characters on Heroes of the Storm. And while I wasn't sure what kind of type the druid should be, but the further I worked on him, the more it was becoming clear that I wanted the druid to become a tank, because we need more full tanks. And I was like, yeah, he's gonna be badass. He's gonna be he's gonna be hated when he's played. That's what I like to create.
Yeah, and it's also important to keep in mind that the druids in Diablo 2, with the LOD expansion, they are entirely different from the Warcraft druids that we know. For example, the Night Elven druids, you know, they have some similarities, for example, shape-shifting abilities, but the kit entirely is a little bit different, because as you are probably going to explain, Wolle, the Diablo druids, they control all elements, not just nature magic.
And by the picture that you put on there, he's pretty damn angry about it.
Oh, yes. Man.
As some of you might know, the druids are related to the barbarians. They are actually at one point were the same tribe, and then they were split off. So yeah, they have the badassery from the barbarians. Yeah, and
definitely a lot more buff than those tree huggers, the night elves that are.
Exactly.
Okay, so I think we got a pretty good first impression of what the Diablo Druid was all about, because let's be honest, man, when we think back of Diablo 2 and LOD, it's been a while, so I feel very old all of a sudden.
Yes. Yes.
How long ago was it? Was it even 2000?
I think it was even before 2000.
Right. It could have been in the 90s, actually. I definitely know that the basic game, Diablo 2, was in the 90s, but man, wow, that's so long ago. Holy cow.
2001.
2001?
Yeah, June 27th, 2001.
Okay, fair enough.
Still makes me feel pretty old.
It's just 16 years, you know? No, but back then you could actually copy your hero on a floppy and bring it over to a friend's house, and then
that's awesome.
And then paste it over and play from your friend's game and show him like what kind of items you got. That's so cool.
Actually, I remember I was playing with my friends via LAN, and we made this deal that we are not allowed to play our heroes except together.
Yeah,
I wanted to play my hero, so I copied the file.
Just
played the character. I continued to play him, but when I played with him, I played the other file.
Yeah, you got the older file. That's so cool, and it worked actually. It worked really, seamlessly. There was no compatibility issues. It was just super cool back then. Right. Yes. So I think let's actually talk about the druid's trait then.
All right, his trait. as I said, he's a tank. So his trait is the Cyclone Armor. And it's pretty simple because it reduces spell damage. This was pretty common in Diablo 2. You could just... well, there were several attributes that you could block, like frost damage, fire damage, arcane damage, and I guess...
I think those were the three major...
So I was thinking, well, we need something against those pesky spellcasters.
Yes, please.
And so his spell damage is reduced by... I know we don't want to talk about numbers. I wasn't so sure, but I think 25% is quite a lot. And
I mean, how much is dampen magic? Isn't it 25 as well?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah. Right. So it's basically like a permanent dampen magic on him.
Yeah, so it's permanent. It's not an active.
No, it's not active. It's permanent.
I like that. I like that a lot.
That's cool.
So many heroes are picking dampen magic. Why not have a hero that's purely dedicated to being an anti-mage?
And I mean, you can sort of decrease his tankiness in other regards. You can give him a lower HP pool, or you can imply other mechanics to him, like purely
50%, by the way.
Yeah. Okay. Dampen magic is 50%, right? So
yeah, that's what I just
it wouldn't even like super OP. It would be like just a weakened but permanent dampen magic.
Yeah. So the next time this annoying little chromie can't one-shot you, even as a tank, you have some sort of protection against this. But he also needs it, because he is a tank that he purely evolves around not being affected by spells that much.
Yeah.
And he controls the elements, so logically, elements can't affect him that much.
That is a very good, justification in terms of lore. So I like it.
Yeah. What I was thinking a lot about what is his Q should be, and I was thinking, well, good full tanks are mostly, they can take a lot of hits, but they also have a good way of crowd control in a way. And this is when I was thinking back to Diablo 2, when I was just imagining this huge ball of flames that he could cast. It was insanely huge, bigger than the player character even. And I was thinking like, okay, it would be pretty fun if there would be a ball that leaves flames behind it, would just be cast and knocks people out of its way, or the first target it hits, it knocks it back, and then it is stunned. So it's not directly a stun like the Stormbolt of Muradin. It's more or less a little bit like
it's
Sun
a phase, sort of.
Yeah. It's basically like a mini Sun Ring. The first target that gets hit is knocked back and stunned for.
But it travels through minion waves and stops at the first hero.
Yes.
Okay.
And leaves fire behind it.
Yes.
That probably damages people.
Yeah. And if you time it well, you could stun a target and clear a minion wave.
Yeah.
What's the speed of this?
Not that high.
Okay, so it's the kind of thing that you can dodge if you have the reaction speed, but if it hits you, it's a good engageability.
Yes.
I think you can maybe compare it to the runic bomb from Cho'Gall.
Yeah. That's
okay.
actually a good comparison. Yeah. Because I wanted him to be this force that can gank very well. He sits in a bush, and all of a sudden there's this Indiana Jones ball following him. And it just knocks you out of the way.
And it's cool because it adds a very skill-heavy mechanic to the hero, because you have to sort of anticipate where the boulder is going to fall or move towards. So when you gank someone, you actually have to cast it a little bit towards the potential flight path.
Yes. And also, if I know we all love the stun lock meta so much.
Yeah, we do.
This would add a little bit more of difficulty to it, because if Tyrande wants to add a follow-up stun, she has to anticipate where the target gets knocked back to. So it's not always easy to land a follow-up stun, but
especially since the target also gets knocked away.
It seems like he would be the follow-up stun. The way I'm looking at it, seeing as his is a bit of a slower shot to land. So it's Storm Bolt into that as the follow-up kind of thing.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point. I haven't even thought about this. Look at Tetcher. He's even...
Tetcher. Praise Tetcher. Okay, Wolle, let's move on to the W.
Okay, like I said, he controls the elements, and I always wanted to have this feature in Heroes. So, and he even has it, kind of, in Diablo 2. The Spirit of Barbs. It's a spell reflection. When you activate it, a certain amount of the spell damage that hits you gets reflected back to the caster.
Cool.
Oh, that's a fantastic.
So would you say that it reflects the projectile, or that they take immediate damage?
They take immediate damage.
Cool.
I like that a lot.
So
that's really cool.
Not only he doesn't take that much damage, but the attacker, if they cast spell on you, they will take that damage right back.
Awesome.
Is that damage reduced by Cyclone Armor first before it's reflected, or is it the initial damage?
The initial damage.
Okay, I think you've just found a counter to my concept, because that would technically damage the core.
Ah, nice.
Direct counter. Fuck.
So I just imagine you could even play with it. For example, imagine someone on your team has Kalthus bombs on him.
Oh, you could run into it on purpose. Oh,
Yes.
that's so cool.
So just to point this out, is it a passive? Or is it
It's
like
an active.
It's an
You
active,
need
so
to activate
okay,
it.
so you have to activate it, and then the barbs come out of the druid and protect him and do damage to ability casters.
Yes.
Okay, good.
So there is some kind of counter to it, because otherwise it would be just too strong and not challenging enough. So you need to anticipate when the damage hits you. And
it is it's only the damage, I assume, not the effects as well. Like if it was a Jaina ability, it wouldn't apply a percentage of the slow from Jaina as well, or was it just the damage?
Just the damage.
Okay, good.
Maybe there would be a talent, like a 16
Yeah,
talent.
I think that'd be a 20.
Or a
Just
20.
apply the full ability. Just apply chain bombs back.
Awesome. Yeah, that would be awesome. So
And it's also probably worth mentioning that Spirit of Barbs doesn't stop the crowd control effect, so it only counters damage.
yes.
So the druid would still get stunned, for example.
Yeah.
Okay.
So imagine if Uther or soon Medivh will shield you, then logically no damage will be will be reflected. So you have to be a little bit on the coordinated side.
Okay. It also rewards you for being aggressive, which is a really cool thing with warriors. Nice.
Right.
So you can stand in the front line. You can even go to the spellcasters directly and just face them, and you wouldn't have to fear them. They would have to fear you. And this is how a tank should be.
Yeah. Question: does this only affect hero spells?
Yes.
Okay, so you can't reflect the Dragon Knight's fire breath back at it, or the Golem's stomp back at it to like work them down quicker.
The golems not.
Yeah, but
The
I mean,
dragons or garden terror would be
Okay.
Yeah,
most abilities that count towards heroes are also effective against Dragon Knights and Garden Terrors because there's a hero inside. So I think you can actually make that work against the Flame Breath. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Alright, but not stuff that's AI controlled, so you
Yes.
can't. Okay, so it doesn't work on, say, Gargantuan. Or is that? Oh no, that's a hero spell technically.
That's
I
a
guess.
hero spell.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Alright, cool.
But just think of Ravenous Spirit, man. Woo-hoo.
Oh, just stand there and just watch Nazebo kill himself, just like.
It's amazing. Okay, cool.
I just like the idea. I just like in my head got the idea of an ally about to die due to pyroblast, And it's just like, if my ally's dying, I'm taking you with me. You run into the AoE of Pyroblast and activate W. Just
that is amazing.
Reflect some damage back. That's cool.
Cool. Alright, I think we can move on to the E, Wolle.
Okay, so the E, a good druid has a summon, of course, and the summon would be the Oak Sage. It's if you have played Diablo 2, it's this little light that follows you around, but that has also its own health bar. So you could attack the minion that you have casted,
Right.
and the minion gives you a life boost, HP boost.
Okay.
Okay.
Just for the druid, though, not for his allies.
Just for the druid.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, if you kill
So,
that, they lose that bonus health, basically.
Yes.
Is there would there be a way for the druid to actually control the Oak Sage, or is it just an automatic
Hide it in a
follower?
bush.
It's just a follow. It just circles around you.
Okay.
Can it be affected by AoE spells, similar to how the totem the healing ward used to not be affected by it?
Yes.
Okay, so it can just be hit by regular abilities.
It can just be hit, but
Okay.
be aware if you hit it with an AoE spell and the druid activates his W,
Yeah.
you will get damage. So you would have to be a little bit smarter if you would like to attack it first. So I created the druid in mind with his HP amount is not that high, not that high like Muradin or ETC or Diablo.
Say as a comparison to pre-patch Anub'arak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
But with his Oak Sage, his HP pool gets boosted so that it's a little bit higher. But if the minion dies, you will lose that HP boost.
I can see a lot of cool talents related to
Yeah.
the Oak Sage. For example, it gets a shield, or it disappears with a blink the first time it takes damage, stuff like that.
Have multiples.
Yeah, multiple Oak Sages. Holy cow!
Oh, yeah. Or also that it grants you a mana boost
Uh huh.
or
That'd be
something.
cool.
Yeah, increased health and mana pool, for example.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Or
I
that
really do like this. It's a very easy to understand ability and very straightforward, but also really, really cool because, I mean, there isn't really a mechanic in the game like that. You don't have a minion that follows you and gives you a boon, like passively. I mean, Misha is controllable, so are Gazlo's turrets, for example, but this is really cool.
How big's the hitbox in this thing? What is the
Good
size
question.
of this Oak Sage?
In Diablo, it's a little bit bigger than your head. So
Okay, so if you compare it in Heroes, like we keep using Gazlo turrets as an example, but about that size.
yeah, pretty much like a Gazlo tower.
Okay,
That's
fair enough.
That's hittable with a shot if you aim.
It's hittable. By the way, I like it. We should do that from now on. Always refer to as a scale Gazlo towers.
Yes.
Yeah, how many Gazlo turrets?
Yeah. How much is it in Gazlo towers?
But for those who played other MOBAs, there was back in beta, I think it was for League. They didn't really.
What
have
game
a
did you just
average-
mention?
The one that Caldor hates.
Okay.
Basically, they had an issue with measurement. They didn't have a standard measurement system, so they measured in TMOs.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
There was like 0.1 of a TMO for this ability and stuff like that.
That's awesome. All right.
There was a
Yeah.
question
Yeah.
in the chat where it someone asked if the minion can walk down a lane and push. No, it just follows you.
Mhm.
But
It stays behind you, I assume, so you could
Yeah.
micro
It-
yourself to protect it.
yeah, you could stand in front of it. It just directly follows you. So you could theoretically stand in front of it. But I could imagine there being a talent where you could control it, that you could move it like a wisp or something. Maybe. I could imagine that.
Cool. But I'm pretty sure that guys out there and viewers out there are very, very curious about these two animal pictures that, of
Oh,
course,
yeah.
indicate the heroic ability. So let's actually get to the first one.
Okay, so what would be a good druid without the ability to shapeshift? Because that's basically
Right.
the most badass thing a druid can do. And the first heroic would be the werewolf, where the druid can transform himself into a werewolf. And in this form, his attack speed is boosted, and he gets a certain percentage of its life back from the damage dealt.
So like a life leech.
Yeah, like a life leech.
Okay.
So it just transforms him and can be reactivated to transform him back into the druid kind of thing?
No. Once you casted it, you have the full duration.
Okay.
Oh, it's a duration thing. Okay.
Yeah, it's a duration thing. The special thing is, because I get that this would be a little bit overpowered with the other talents that he has, spells cannot be used in werewolf form.
I
Does
like
he still
that.
get his trait?
Yes, he has a trait.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
But
alright,
he
cool.
can't use his Molten Boulder, or he can't use his Spirit of Warps,
Alright.
or he doesn't have the HP boost. That's why I gave him the Life Leech, because he needs a way to sustain a little bit. But on the other hand, the Druid has to completely be aware of when he uses it. Also, it's not like Greymane, where he just jumps on someone and transforms. It's more like he just rips his shirt and screams Hulk smash.
There is no... it's not like Dark Fight, there's no engage, so you have to be positioned correctly before you cast it.
Yeah.
It's also important to keep in mind, I think, that when you activate Werewolf, you lose the Oak Sage, so you become a lot less tanky.
Yeah.
True. Okay, cool. And
So this is... Yeah.
okay, and it's really cool to see because, as you mentioned, Wolle, it's a little bit different from Greymane, who just transforms into a Worgen occasionally. But this, once you trigger the ability, you're actually stuck to it and committed to it, right? There's no coming back that easily. So if your team would have needed a Molten Boulder, or if you would have needed a Spirit of Barbs, well, you just use your heroic ability as a werewolf, and now you're stuck with it until it's over.
Yes, exactly.
His ability seems like a fight ender, I think, is the best one. Like, you've already used everything else. You aren't going to get the use out of any of the rest of your stuff. You need to end the fight with damage. So pop into werewolf form and just push through, kind of thing.
I also like the idea behind a druid werewolf from Diablo 2, because if I remember it correctly, the werewolf actually looked a lot different from the Worgens. I think it was a lot thinner, or how would you say, leaner? Not as muscular.
All wolves look alike, Kendrick.
Exactly.
Racist. Not all wolves, hashtag.
Yeah, it pretty much looks like a werewolf Slender Man kind of thing.
Yeah, it was very, very lean, I agree.
Yeah, and he has no clothes.
Yeah.
So he basically is naked.
What happens when he changes back?
He will have his clothes back,
Okay.
obviously.
Magic. Thank God.
Okay, cool. Let's actually move to his second heroic ability.
Okay, his second heroic is also shapeshift ultimate, but this time he transforms into a werebear.
Oh,
And-
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Why bear?
Why bear?
A werebear.
Werebear.
What bear?
It's like a grizzly, I would say.
When bear?
Who bear?
Who bear?
We can also make it a giant panda.
Oh, no.
Oh yeah, that could be a nice
A nice skin, like a Pandaren skin. Look at that.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he transforms into a bear, and in this form, his HP is boosted by a lot, and also his attack damage. So, in other words, this ultimate could be used if you need a bigger tank, or if you feel like, okay, I need to take more hits. I need to soak more damage.
Yeah.
And to not be like, I don't know, a huge thing with a big amount of HP, I made his attack damage that much more because he needs to hurt. Other players should not be able to just ignore him, because also in this form he can't use spells.
Right.
Okay.
But because he
That's,
hurts, he should deal a lot of damage with his basic attacks.
You could also... go ahead, Tetcher.
like you described that in almost the exact way. Like, do you guys remember when Blizzard buffed the Stitcher's basic attacks?
Mm-hmm.
In the patch notes to that, it was, we're buffing Stitcher's basic attacks because being hit by a giant cleaver should really hurt, and that's exactly how I am envisioning the werebear. It should hit. There's a lot of weight behind it.
Right, and it's cool because if you should find, or if we should, notice that it's still not strong enough, you can add another effect to it. Maybe a little bit of a movement speed slow with each attack, maybe a mini stun like Avatar used to. So I really think there's a lot of room to make this even stronger, just in case the increased attack damage alone isn't enough.
Yeah, you could even think about giving the werebear separate HP bar.
Oh, like the old Tychus Odin.
Oh,
yeah, like the old Odin.
Oh.
I know
so
that
does it have an activate time, or is it an instant surprise there?
It would have a little bit. Well, if you imagine it, it would take him a little bit of time to transform, and this would be his channeling time, I guess.
Okay. So more similar to like Chen ultimate activating time, as opposed to the instant activation we used to see from Tychus.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So, is it possible to turn into a werewolf or a werebear while walking, or do you have to stand still in one place?
You have to stand still.
Okay. That's pretty cool. So, especially the werebear. I mean, I remember one of my friends, he used to play a druid as well, and I loved watching him play his druid because of the werebear, because it just looked so cool. You had those tiny legs, you walked on two legs, I think, and your torso and your head were just enormous. So,
I'm just loving the idea.
Amazing.
I think this game needs more wolves and it needs more bears. So
yeah.
we're getting very close to a full wolf team if this came into the game. We got Rhaegar, we got
Greymane, obviously.
Greymane technically Thrall, because you could throw wolves, and you got the the Jackal Tassadar skin. So you would technically have a full wolf team finally.
Yeah. Maybe you could think about level 20 talents where they could use their spells in...
That's scary. I like that.
It would be a little bit overpowered, maybe.
It's a level 20. It's a storm talent, and you'd miss out on the ultimate upgrades. So
yeah, I guess it's okay then. Maybe it would be a little bit nerfed.
I mean, in a world where we have Yogg-Saron, we need to give those kind of storm talents to other heroes. Okay, sounds good. Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you very much, Wolle. I thoroughly enjoyed your version of the Druid from Diablo 2. Really cool stuff, especially the counter to ability spellcasters. The choice to become either a wolf or a bear is pretty damn cool. So, oh man, it's not going to be easy to... Yeah, excuse me, okay.
Someone put in the GIF of the werebear so people can actually see what it is in the chat. And this is my first time seeing it, because I haven't played Diablo 2. And that bear skipped leg day. Jesus Christ.
Let me actually show it to you guys on stream, just in case you're wondering. Hold on. Hopefully it works. No, it does not. Oh, it's still okay. There you go.
Such a bitch slap.
I love that.
That's exactly what the werebear looked like. Look at his abs and the muscles. Like, it's crazy.
You could grate cheese on those. Jesus.
All right, cool. So yeah, as I mentioned, it's going to be very hard to top either of those hero concepts, but I shall nevertheless try. My hero, by the way, sorry guys, I couldn't share it with you in time, is Vindicator Maraad. So he is a Draenei, obviously. And I thought it would be time to actually have a Draenei hero in the game, because there's still some races missing, and especially, of course, with the Warcraft movie around, where it's all about, you know, the conflict between Horde and the Alliance. Many people forgot that before the Alliance, the biggest enemy of the Orcs were actually the Draenei, which were the people native to the world. And they actually get driven away. And Vindicator Maraad is one of those heroes that I think is very important during World of Warcraft's Warlords of Draenor expansion. So he was basically a paladin, and he is a defender of the weak. He is all about light and protecting people. And as such, of course, I thought he would be a fantastic warrior. However, he also has very aggressive and very savage sides to him. So, for example, he was escorting a group of refugees, and then he saw an orc, and he decided to actually chase down that orc. And when he came back, all the refugees were slaughtered. So there's this kind of aggressive thing to him where he does not back away from a fight. And as such, I decided... Yeah. He's a little bit of an Illidan, exactly.
Yes, he's an individual hero, dives it, leaves his team to die.
Come back and everybody's gone. So yeah, I decided to design him a little bit more in a bruiser way, so similar to a Sonya, not as a main tank, as the druid, for example, that Wolle presented to us. And let's actually talk about his trait. His trait is called Holy Wrath, and it causes Vindicator Maraad to gain bonus damage on his basic attacks whenever nearby allied heroes take damage. When out of combat or when allies don't take damage, in general, this damage bonus slowly disappears over time. And I thought it was a maximum of 30% extra damage to his basic attacks, but of course we can also tune it down, like 20%, we can tune it up if it's too weak. And it's not like, you know, a hero in his vicinity gets damaged, boom, 30%. It builds up over time. So it's like, let's say, one source of damage gives him 2%. And then it would really take a long time to actually achieve the 30%.
So possibly it's like checking every couple seconds, has a time window in those every couple seconds to see if a hero gets damaged in that time. It gives you the next percentage and then keeps ticking up and then keeps
exactly. You can always, or you could always see how much Wrath Vindicator Maraad has accumulated with a little bar, maybe some runes around him. So the enemies could definitely see that Maraad is now charged up and they want to run away from him.
Yeah.
It's not like all of a sudden, hey, a random Maraad comes in and just hits you for 30% extra damage.
Yeah, because right now, depending on how much engage you've given this guy, holy crap, that sounds scary. To see
he's a melee hero.
Getting into your backline and hitting you really quite hard with that mallet.
He's a melee hero, definitely.
It does not apply to himself.
No, not to himself. So when Vindicator Maraad takes damage, nothing happens. Just his allies around him.
Okay. Cool.
Okay. Unless you guys have any questions, we can move on to the queue.
I have a comment on sticking with an Uther. And one, because of the light. Because everyone loves the light.
Justice.
Praise the light. But just also the fact of the enemy goes for the classic, kill the support, and Maraad goes, nope! Maraad gets Divine Shield so he doesn't die, and then beats on them while they slowly kill Uther.
Yeah, I think
Morales would have a completely different meaning.
Yeah.
Focus Morales. I think we're actually going to skip the other two abilities for now and focus on his E, because you guys mentioned something that has very nice synergy with the trait. So let's actually move on to the E first here. It is called Protect the Weak, and it causes Maraad to charge to an allied hero, reducing all damage dealt to that hero by 25% for a short amount of time. And also, Holy Wrath's effect is greatly increased, let's say doubled for example, if the targeted ally takes damage. So for example, you use Protect the Weak, charge on the Morales, and then if Morales gets attacked during this period of time for 3 seconds, not only does she take less damage, but also she boosts Maraad's damage by a lot more.
I love this. That's really, really cool.
And you can also really use that to, to either charge to the backline when somebody is pressured there, or you can just use it on another warrior, which is most likely going to be attacked anyway.
Like ETC power sides in, and that allows Maraad to engage and basically dive to ETC so he doesn't die and start doing his damage.
So it's a little bit of a gap closer too, if you want to get closer to the enemies, for example, when you have a melee assassin in your team. But it can only be used on allies, so it's not an aggressive engaging tool or gap closer. But I think we really don't have a mechanic like this, so I think it would make a lot of sense.
No, like you've designed a warrior, a support warrior, I guess, kinda, which is really cool. Like it's like the Tyrael support warrior, only fun to play.
Right. So this is pretty cool. Let's actually move on to the normal order then and talk about his Q. It's called Eradicate Evil. and it's related to Vindicator Maraad's hammer, the hammer of the Naru. He slams his hammer to the ground, damaging and knocking away all enemies around him. This ability has a small radius, so only enemies very close to Maraad will be affected. So I don't want to create like an earthquake radius thing where it pretty much would hit any enemies. It's very small, maybe comparable, let's say, to smaller than a Condemn from Johanna.
So like a face melt style thing?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
So basically, it deals not a lot of damage, but it knocks targets away, which is really cool because, let's say, once again, your support is being surrounded by enemies, engagers, for example, Illidan, Arthas, or whoever wants to dive into the backline, then you just protect the weak and use Eradicate Evil, knocking enemies away from that target as well.
He's the ultimate peel warrior.
Yeah, pretty much. Because Vindicator Maraad in his lore had this strong protection sense around him. He was protecting people. He was trying to protect people, the innocent most importantly. So I really thought it would be nice to have, as you mentioned, Tetcher, a little bit of a peeling warrior.
Oh, nice. I like it. Yeah.
Okay, then let's move on to the W. It's called Spectral Hammer. Maraad summons a Spectral Hammer that increases his attack range by 200% for a short period of time. This allows him to hit targets from a medium distance. So it's not like he becomes a ranged assassin range kind of hero, but it's like a medium range. Something in between Arthas, let's say, who has a fairly high attack range, and who else maybe? Basically, it would create a niche that we don't really have in the game, like a medium-sized attacking character. And it also works, of course, really well with Holy Wrath. For example, he is charged up all to the max. The enemy is a little bit too far away. He just uses the hammer and slams those people from a medium distance.
Holy crap. That's scary.
That's cool, especially if you don't see it coming. Just like, don't worry, we're out of range. Surprise ghost hammer.
And it's also a really, really cool thing to design visually, right? Just a purple-ish kind of Draenei hammer extension, and he just attacks normally, stands still, and then you have this huge hammer coming out and slamming people.
Could you give us a scale in Gazlo towers?
I would say 2 to 3 Gazlo turrets, probably, lined up to another. Sure. I just have to picture this in my mind.
Karazim's upgraded Eid auto attack.
That is a very good comparison, Tetcher. That's a very good one.
Cool.
I like it. I like it. And then, of course, you can create talents that increase that range even further, stuff like that. And I saw a really good comment in the chat here saying that Vindicator Maraad is the ultimate tunnel vision warrior.
Just tunnel visioning his allies instead of the enemies.
Exactly. That's a very cool comparison, actually. Let's talk about heroic abilities, guys. The first one is called Avatar of Vengeance. And it basically causes Maraad to turn into an unstoppable Avatar of Light, so he can't be stopped by crowd control while in this form, dashing toward an enemy hero and damaging them for a significant amount. So you click on a hero, and Maraad, in his Avatar of Light or Avatar of Vengeance form, charges towards that enemy, and the further away the enemy hero was from his original location, the more damage Maraad's impact will deal. And here comes the twist: for every 10% of Holy Wrath he has accumulated, Maraad gets another dash, up to a maximum of 2 additional dashes. So 3 in total is the maximum for each 10% of maximum wrath that he can have. So basically, the thought process behind this is you use your E to dive to your support in the backline, which makes you pretty far away from the enemy team normally. And then you use Avatar of Vengeance to immediately dive back into the enemy backline, dealing a lot of damage. So the further away the enemy target is, the more damage you deal. And if you're all charged up, like up to a 30% maximum with your Holy Wrath, you can use 2 more dashes.
That's scary. That's very scary indeed. What kind of damage are we talking here? Estimate, not
it's hard to say. I mean, a maximum amount of damage would probably be, let's say, comparable to maybe a Flame Strike.
I'm assuming a non-upgrade, a non-stacked one.
Non-stacked one, absolutely.
Okay, so that's cool. And it's only a single target ability. So
it's a single target damage ability.
Okay,
exactly.
Is there a cooldown between the charges?
No, I really wanted it to
that.
make super flashy, like ding, 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 ding. You can use it like an Omni Strike in Dota, for example.
Yeah, so you can just go bang, bang, bang into one person,
Yeah.
or you could go dash into this person and maybe even snipe
Absolutely.
them and dash further back into their backline more,
Exactly.
or further back again.
So
That's cool.
there could also be a thing where between each dash you have a 1 second time window to decide where to go next. So you can't just be sitting there and like, okay, I used the first dash on this target. Now let's patiently wait who the next target is that is furthest away, and then just casually doing it on this. You're a little bit pressured while doing this, right? You use it,
So
1
you have to
second
use them
time
all in one
window.
go.
Exactly, you have to
That's
use them
awesome.
in one go.
That is really fun.
So you can't just be sitting like, I'm just going to check you out, guys, and whoever moves away the furthest, I'm going to use the next dash on. So you're relatively pressured, like, use this, 1 second time window, use the next dash, 1 second time window, use the final dash.
Okay,
That's
what happens if the first dash misses? Say dimensional shift or blink in the very second it's about to hit.
I think then you basically canceled the heroic ability.
Oh, does it go on like the 10-second cooldown?
Yeah, I think so.
Sweet, cool.
I like this idea. So basically the same happens when he's unstoppable, so he can't actually be stopped by stuns. So yeah, I like this when you have like dimensional shift from Tassadar, for example, as you mentioned. Well, it goes on a 10-second cooldown.
So it's a mix between Judgment and Seven-Sided Strike.
Yes,
kind
I
of?
wanted it to be a slightly more predictable seven-sided strike, where you can basically choose the target instead of just randomly
Nice.
hitting the highest
Okay.
HP one.
And it has a set amount of damage as opposed to
No percentage damage. Exactly. And it really rewards you when you get charged up with Holy Wrath to have additional ones, additional
And you can,
dashes.
so you can use all three on one person though, if you wanted
You
to.
could do that, yes.
Okay, cool.
So you could theoretically, if there would be a 1 second time window, you could also deal auto attacks in that window to maximize.
If you are really good with Maraad and very good mechanical player, you can just squeeze in a basic attack in there and just use another dash. True. Yeah.
Nice. I really like that.
Yeah. That's a very good point you make there, Wolle. Okay, so let's actually move on to the second heroic ability. And this one is once again referring to the tunnel vision that somebody in the chat mentioned earlier. It's called Sacred Duel. And what basically happens is Maraad chooses an enemy hero and slows their movement speed by 20%. For the next 10 seconds, once again, we can reduce the duration, we can make it longer. Maraad and the chosen enemy hero can only attack and damage each other. They are immune to healing, damage, and any form of crowd control. This effect cannot be cleansed. So basically, Maraad chooses an enemy, and while the duel is active, this hero gets slowed, so you can't just run away from Maraad and be like, hey, you just wasted your heroic ability, but he gets slowed by 20%. And only these heroes can damage each other, and they cannot be healed by allies, they cannot be crowd controlled. It's all about those two dueling until one of them dies or until the effect wears off.
Can they damage other heroes though?
No,
Because you
they
could
cannot.
technically-
They
so
cannot.
they can only damage each other,
Yes.
and only they can be damaged by each other.
Yes.
Okay, because I was about to say, otherwise you've just made a way for
You literally-
Maraad to make himself invulnerable and attack everyone else. But
The way
that's cool.
I would imagine it is you couldn't even click on enemy or allied heroes anymore. You basically, you can only click on that chosen enemy.
Yeah. Would it be cool if, like, not for this hero, but just as a different design, maybe? Just came into my head. Just having it so that they could only see each other, similar to Dahaka's ultimate.
That would actually be a nice twist to it.
Yeah.
That would
then just
actually be
cover it with the
really
light.
sick.
Like a
Right,
real
right.
show off of those two.
Yeah.
And you can
The literal
even make
definition of
it...
tunnel vision.
Yeah.
They can't see anyone but each other.
That is
I mean,
really cool.
Imagine if, I don't know, Illidan is about to dive your supporter, and then you use your E to protect him, knock him away, and then you use Sacred Duel to tell him, nope, you're gonna fight me now.
Yeah.
This is my house.
And just imagine, I mean, it's all about choosing the right target too. If you use it on the enemy's support, for example, which is most likely going to be a very poor duelist, Maraad can just walk towards that support and slam them, right? And I think it's all about, using it offensively to sort of kill someone, or, as you mentioned, Wolle, defensively. For example, the Illidan dives your backline, you just use Sacred Duel, and all of a sudden this Illidan is forced to actually attack Maraad and cannot finish off his target.
I'm trying to think of like a way to deal with that, and the only thing I can come up with is force-walling the two away from each other. That's the only way I can.
That is actually good.
That's the only way I can think around that. But that's really cool. I guess body blocking as well. Like, if you just position your team directly in between. But that's cool. Like, I love that ability as a last stand thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Maraad, I'm the only person alive as Maraad. Well, I'm going to take someone down with me and just cast it on someone else when you're surrounded and just wail that person.
And the thing is, Maraad cannot be healed by his allies either, right? So it's not like he's going to come out of the duel with full HP, because whenever the duel is over, Maraad most likely will also be weakened quite a bit, unless, of course, he chooses a hero that cannot really fight back as much. And as I said, guys, I mean, you can also change the numbers, right? If 10 seconds is too long, just make it 5 seconds and make it just like a really short ability where people are forced to fight each other.
I assume they're visibly marked so the allies can see we can't target
yes,
this.
absolutely.
So
that would be
see each other as well, so they know that's the only people who can fight.
That would definitely be a big warning, a big visual indicator, some sound effects even.
It's high noon.
Definitely, yeah. So I think, you know, when I thought about this concept, I was like, which kind of warrior do we not really have in the game yet? And that's why I thought of protecting allies, choosing these crazy mechanics with damage increasing when allies get damaged. So, yeah, I hope you liked it, guys. And I can't wait to see the next poll, actually, which is, of course, the next point on the list here. You guys are actually able to vote online and tell us which hero design you liked most. Is it Yogg-Saron? Is it the druid from Diablo 2? Or is it Vindicator Maraad? So the link will be given to you by the end of the stream. And if you're watching on YouTube, of course, you can find it in the video description down below. So last but not least, guys, I would like to thank you once again for making it to the show and sharing your hero concepts. And Wolle, take it away and drop some shoutouts to the viewers out there.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. It was a pleasure to be here again. And yeah, if you are German and you would like to see the globals in German, next week you have the chance. I will be casting the first 3 days in with Nomi together, and on the weekend together with Nunia and Voodoo in Hamburg. Thanks to Take TV, and yeah. If you're English, watch Kendrick. Of course.
Cool. I'm still waiting to be invited to Sturmschau, by the way. I'm still a little bit...
You will be. I actually have that in my mind.
Cool.
Every time I'm planning Sturmschau, I'm like, okay, how do I fit Kendrick in there? Dang it.
One day I should be there. Okay, cool. Tetcher, take it away and let us know who you give a shout out to.
Well, shout out to Jess for starters, Jesscat Studios, for actually helping me get set up for this and everything else. Even though the camera did break, we were trying desperately to fix it from the start, but when I'm down here, she is very helpful. The studio is very well equipped.
Cool.
So it's cool for that. And check out my general stuff on Twitch, on twitch.tv and youtube.com/Tetcher for both, and Tetcher on Twitter as well.
Cool. That's pretty much it, guys. You should definitely check out those two, especially if you're German, of course. Look for that Volkaracho on Twitter. And they're doing a really good job at covering the German-speaking community. I always have to give credit to them. So yeah, once again, thank you very much for tuning in here as well. I hope you're looking forward to the next episode of Heroes Chop Shop. It might take a little, though, because as we've heard earlier, the global championships are around the corner. They will consume a lot of time and effort for all people involved, and I'm looking forward to welcome you. Let's actually say in 3 weeks' time, roughly. So definitely let us know if you want to see someone particular in the show, because for now I think we actually have a really good cast with Wolle and Tetcher. I would love to welcome you back in 3 weeks time as well, but just in case one of those guys can't make it, let us know who you want to see on the show instead, and also let us know what heroes you would like to see in the future episodes, and maybe we got you covered. Maybe we can do something for you in that regard. So long, take care, and thank you once again.